So, if you keep up with me at all, you've probably heard me discuss this idea of affordability many times. And I think the general public is just very confused why sentiment is so divided. But really, just like the economy, we have extreme bifurcation, extreme wealth inequality. Well, it shows up in the household data too. So maybe there's a perfectly good reason why, say, the kids are complaining, and yet older, say, homeowners don't understand what's going on. And what I'm going to show appears to be busy and confusing at first glance, but I'm going to explain this to you guys, and it's going to make total sense why the color scheme and everything is set up the way it is, because it's all intentional. So, okay, in Davidson County, remember these are 1 year ACS annual estimates. So 2020 was unavailable due to COVID. There are a total of 382,000, give or take, homes in the area in Davidson County. So that includes renter occupied, RO in red, owner occupied in blue, and then obviously vacant in yellow. Here's that same thing year over year. So when I say housing stock, this is what I'm referring to, the whole thing: owner, renter, vacant, the entire pie. But what if I could look at renter occupied, owner occupied by, say, things like rents to income? So, in other words, how much of somebody's or a household's monthly income goes towards housing, whether renting or owning? So, people will typically talk about that through the lens of DTIs. So, that's going to be on the home ownership side. But that's sort of like the current going in rate. The other thing that matters tremendously to this entire equation is how concentrated those trends are over time. So, in other words, how many, say, renters pay less than 20% of their monthly income? 20 to 25, 25 to 30, 30 to 35, 35 plus of their monthly income. And if we can get an idea of that over time, then it's going to make a whole heck of a lot more sense as to why there's this very divided sentiment. So, okay, everything with a red background is renter occupied. Red, renter occupied. So there are over 150,000 renter occupied housing units in Davidson County as of the latest ACS annual estimates, which are through 2024. If I just lump, okay, the age of these households into various buckets, so blue is 15 to 24 year olds, 35, 25 to 34 is that green shading. 35 to 64, I wish it got broken out further than that, is that sort of orange shading. And then the grayish shading is 65 plus year old renters. Each bucket, the darker that respective shading is, the higher their monthly income is going towards something like rent. So if I just isolate by age, right, these young renters that are cost burdened, this is what that looks like. And that dotted line you see on this chart, this share chart, again, all we're doing is we're just focusing on this segment of renters. It's actually more concentrated than the national figure. Okay, so in other words, it looks like we'll call it 3/4 of them are cost burden. And this is household incomes, right? Household incomes. Okay, let's do the same thing for 25 to 34 year olds. It's about in line, just a hair worse than the national figure. 35 to 64 year olds, it's worse than that national figure. And 65 years plus is actually just a tad better. But again, they're a small fraction of all renters. The bulk of them are under the age of 34. So the blue and the green. And this is why details matter. Okay. Uh, this is why the kids are complaining. But if I go over to the homeownership side of this equation and I do the exact same thing, you get a completely different result. So look, I mean, again, color scheme, all of that's the same. These darker shading areas is where there's a higher concentration of cost burden homes or households. Well, there's hardly any 15 to 24-year-old homeowners in the area. I mean, that only makes sense, right? Now, if I go up the age ladder, it's about in line what you see for 25 to 34-year-olds. It looks to be back to affordability levels of around 2013, 2012. Uh, 35 to 64-year-old homeowners. It's actually probably the best across that. And that's a pretty wide bucket, keep in mind, of ages. It's actually a little bit better. Okay. And then let's look at really old folks, 65 years plus. And this is again cost burden, meaning 30% plus of monthly income goes towards housing. Again, that's segment is a tad better than the national figure, but not exactly uh, getting better, I would say. So, why would this be happening over within homeowners versus renters? Well, I'll tell you right now. It's very easy to explain this. This is not cut by who has a mortgage and who doesn't. If you don't have a mortgage, and I'm not going to show that here today. I've shown it several times in other videos and posts. Well, then the chances that your cost burden are very low. Okay. Now that will vary across markets, but in general, that's what you see. We have a growing share of homeowners in Nashville, again, across the country. It's a function of age that do not have mortgages. So they do not have to deal with high housing costs, right? They don't have a mortgage. Okay. So that's why people are confused. This is a no nonsense channel. I don't do fluff. If you're interested in real data to the point, please consider subscribing because I just see a lot of bad takes out there, guys. This is real information. And by the way, I look at a variety of different data sets and it all points in this same direction. So the labor data, what's going on there? Uh, the employment market is way worse for younger folks than it is going to be for older individuals. Same thing is relevant in Nashville, Davidson County, and it is what it is. People are really confused by the unemployment rates being heavily impacted by labor force flows. So make no mistake, the bifurcation is real. The labor market is terrible. The kids have every right to complain. That's what the data shows. I could really, I'll be honest, I could care less what somebody says. It is their information to back it up. So that's what I'm here to sort of communicate to you guys. And hopefully we can kind of put this to bed as to what's going on because it doesn't matter if I show it here, the 1 year ACS estimates, the 5 year, a variety of different data sets. It's just unaffordable. So what are you going to do? I don't know. Okay, guys. Yeah, tell your friends, man. I'm tired of. I feel like these kids don't have a voice. It's unfortunate. They're getting run over for the really just so we can prop up the boomers. I would say so. All right, I'll shut up. Have a good one.